Okay, and welcome to another Rob Bryan random record review, where I just sort of grab 5 records and then proceed to talk about them, why they're important to me, why I bought them, and so on. And I'm doing some on singles. I've still got some singles at the lockup, which I need to bring back here, because when I want to play them too, I just want to do more of these, because I've done quite a few, on the old albums over there. So I thought it was time to do some on some 45s. So here we go. So I've literally just picked 5 up. The first one, Prince, Bat Dance, from 1989. I think this is the original, a bit water damaged, a little bit maybe from so many flat moves and house moves over the years. Great single, obviously promoting the Tim Burton, Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson, Batman 89, I think they call it now, but it was just Batman at the time. And it's my favourite Batman film, not just because of the Prince music, but I just think it's dark, it's wonderful. I mean, I like the Christopher Nolan ones too, don't get me wrong. They're even darker, I suppose. But there's something about when that film came out, I just think it was the right time. Superhero movies were sort of frowned upon at that point. They come out with that Batman and they just floored everybody, and it was a massive success. And obviously Prince being involved was great. I'm still a big Prince fan. I was a huge Prince fan then. I'd already seen him live, I think once the year before in 88. So this was 89, so that was 88, on the Lovesexy tour up in Wembley Arena, which was just probably one of the greatest concerts I've ever seen in my life from anybody. And when this single came out, it's usual kind of Prince crazy battiness, shall we say, using kind of the 1966 theme a little bit, and adding, the Lindrum on top of it, and his amazing use of quotes from the movie, which if you bought the 1966 album, which I've got around here somewhere, they did the same thing then, editing little bits from the Penguin and Catwoman and the Joker and Batman and Robin, of course. And Prince, I think, was probably inspired by that, because I think he learned to play the piano at home just by listening to, Beatle records and stuff on the TV. So he learned all the TV themes of the day. So one of them would have been Batman. So, and he sort of used all of those ideas on this. And I guess, like anybody, if you were influenced by something as a kid, and then later on when you're a professional musician or actor or sportsman, whatever you do, and you're asked to take part in something that involves something from your childhood like that, you get involved and do it 100%. And I think Tim Burton said he was only supposed to do 1 song or 2, and he ended up doing a whole album because he was completely inspired by it. He visited the set in London. There's pictures of him, actually, which I may share now if I can find them on the internet. He just totally bought into the project, and he'd been touring Lovesexy for 2 years, and I think he was just ready for something new. And I think financially it was good for him as well at the time. And I think there was rumours that Michael Jackson was going to put some songs in as well, but which would have been cool. But I think in a way, the darkness of the film and the mood of the film is more suiting Prince, and Michael Jackson's more sort of happy-go-lucky character. Maybe that would have been better with Superman or something, I don't know. But either way, it would have been cool, I'm sure. I may be talking about a very different Batman, but that's the single. B-side 200 Balloons, I think was originally he wrote for the scene near the end when the Joker is on all of his carnival floats and giving away money, and then starts to sort of poison the city by letting out all these poisonous gases from his cool balloons that he's got. And I think Prince saw that thing and that bit of the movie and thought, right, the rushes of it, and thought, right, I'm going to do something called 200 Balloons, which I think he had a rough demo of, as like something in the vault, the famous vault. But anyway, and he pulled it out, and anyway, it didn't end up in the movie, but ended up on the B-side. So Bat Dance, Prince, Batman, love it. Good memories of that film. Lovely stuff. Next one, Gary Numan, She's Got Claws, She's Got Claws. B-side, I Sing Rain. This is from 1981, I'd like to say. After his ill-fated sort of I'm retiring from music thing that he did. And he did those 3 nights or 2 nights at Wembley Arena in 1980-81, around there. And he wanted to take time out, but it seemed more like he was giving it all up. And I think he said since then he regrets the whole thing. But anyway, because I think it stopped the momentum. But he had things that he wanted to work on. He was fed up with the press hounding him and because he was so popular, they were hounding him like the press do. When you're up, they hate you, but when you're on your way down, they help you on your way down by hating you. But I was sort of 11 years old when I bought this, and a lot of these things were bought in the Corsham Book and Record Shop in Corsham, the town I used to live in. This cover's pretty cool. Pretty graphic. She's got claws, yeah, and she's had a go at his face. And this is when he was wearing his sort of 1930s get-up with the hat and the suits and everything, like a gangster type thing. And it's a great single. There's a saxophone on it. It's sort of jazzy, funky. It's around the time he was working with Mick Karn from Japan. And I think Roger Taylor plays drums on one. Well, he does plays drums on one track on, not on this, but on, is it Moral? Is it that track? Or You Are? I can't remember, but Roger Taylor definitely plays on one of the tracks on Dance, which is the album that this came from. But this was a good single. He did perform it at those retirement gigs as a little kind of, this is what's coming next. And I like the way that his sound was maturing from Replicas, Pleasure Principle, Telecon, and then to Dance, including the saxophone and bass, Pino Palladino playing bass, which was on the album afterwards, but fretless bass, which I think is being played on this as well. Maybe Mick Karn might be on this as well, I can't remember. But a great single. I think it was top 10. This is when he was still flying high, even though he'd done the I'm retiring situation. But yeah, great song. Cedric Sharpley is the drummer on this. I love Cedric Sharpley's playing. Sadly, he's no longer with us, and his birthday is the day after mine, July the 2nd. So that was always cool. I always remembered that, obviously. Good single, really cool. She's got claws. Love the video as well. If you ever see the video, it's pretty good too. Now this is probably my first ever single. It's either this or Cars by Gary Newman, but I think it's this. And this is New Music, Living by Numbers. And the B-side is Sad Films. And I think both of those tracks are on the first album, which I can't remember what it's called. I can't remember what it's called now. But I've got that down here somewhere. Great album and great single. I just remember hearing it on Top of the Pops and just it's so catchy. And I think this is 1979 or 1980. Let's have a look. 1979, yeah. So it was either this or Cars was my very first single. I think it's this. Not looking too bad. A little bit of water damage here and there, but it's all pretty good. I can't remember much about this, like who produced it or whatever. I just remember it wasn't particularly the drumming that sort of got me going on this. It was just the song. It was just very, very catchy, Living by Numbers. And it was using some Sin drums as well as the acoustic drums, which I've always liked the sound of. And of course, Prince championed that later. And I just love that whole Linn drum with live drum or Sin drum or, whatever sort of electronics or Simmons drums in with a live kit or 808s and 909s with a live kit. It's just, it's a world that, things like this and Gary Newman got me into at the start. But this is a great song. If you don't know it, check it out. It's total late 70s, early 80s, new wave pop. And it's just brilliant. And the production is amazing on this music. Again, I should be able to remember who did it. Let's have a look. Tony Mansfield. Yeah, that's the guy. And Sad Films is also a top song. So, when you buy a single, sometimes you just play the A-side all the time. Sometimes the B-side gets a look in and then you're like, yeah, I'll leave that. Whereas on this one, both songs were played a lot. And I think around this time, I also bought Carrie by Cliff Richard, which isn't unfortunately here, but I'm sure that'll crop up in one of these. And I'll talk about that another time. Moving on, Buddy Rich and the Big Band Machine. I was going to say the Miami Sound Machine, but that was Gloria Estefan. Ooh. So, Buddy Rich, singles, what? Yeah, I thought that too. Hence why I bought this on eBay back in the day. Mid-90s, I went through a complete Buddy fest where I had to have everything, or as much as I could, of the stuff. Not necessarily with Harry James and the earlier stuff, but certainly the later stuff from 1966 when he reformed his big band onwards. I was really into all of that stuff. So I wanted to gather anything that I could at that time. And one of the things I did find was that this single, which was obviously edited down from the album version, and the album's called Speak No Evil, and it's from 76, I believe. And I think this plays one side and then fades out, and then you put on the other side and it fades back in and carries the tune on. But it was the time when Buddy was, disco was hitting hard, 1975, 76. And he'd always played like modern tunes of the day. Back in 66, he was playing Norwegian Wood by the Beatles, and he did Hello, I Love You by the Doors in 68 or 69. So he was always getting his arrangers and, to listen to what was current, and then he'd borrow from that and play it in a big band version. And the Paul Simon tune, Keep the Customer Satisfied, is another one, Simon and Garfunkel, anyway. So, so he was always looking at the next thing and trying to bring it into the big band. And he did some things with a straight groove and a disco feel. And Speak No Evil has got a few tracks, quite a lot of tracks, I think. I think probably most of them are all straight, as far as I can remember, like quavers, dum dum ga dum, but funky. And he's drumming on some of it, and he's sharing it with a guy called Maurice Jennings. Oh, I think that's right. And there's a great interview of Maurice Jennings talking about the sessions with Buddy, where he was, trying to show arguably one of the greatest drummers in the world how to play straight funk grooves, and apparently it was very interesting. But he nailed it in the end, but anyway, it's a good story. So yeah, so I got this. So it's quite rare. I don't know if it's like mega rare, but it's, it was off a jukebox. So it has had some love, and it looks okay. It's a little bit dusty. Obviously, I need to look after these and give them a clean. There's me. So Speak No Evil. And I think I've got Big Mama Cass on single as well. And some of the stuff from the Groove Merchant label as well, dotted around. But again, I don't know where that is. But yeah, the last one. Moments in Soul. I thought it was Moments of Soul, but it's Moments in Soul. And that's featuring JT and the Big Family. Now, this is sort of 91, I'd like to say 92. Might even be 89. Let's have a look. Oh my God, this is very dirty. 1990. This is very dusty. I'm not going to show you. But as I say, some of these have been in storage for a while and obviously not very well looked after. But this was the period of time when nearly every song that was going to be a hit had that boom, 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 that soul to soul groove, basically. And this is one of them. And there was also Dub International or Dubs International, Just Be Good to Me, which was a cover of the SOS band. And that was Norman Cook, wasn't it? So that's cool. And I bought that as well around the same time as this. And I think Sowing the Seeds of Love was another record I was playing a lot of the time around this era. But anyway, nearly everything came out with that groove, and I loved it. And I learned to play it on the drums. I mean, it's not very technical. I know it's not very difficult. But to get that right feel for it, that sort of baggy beat feel, it's quite important. And I learned it with just quavers on the hat, and I learned it with 16s on the hat as well. And I probably should do a little vid on it, because I come up with some nice interplay between the hi-hat and the snare drum, and using accents on the hi-hat, from going to the tip of the stick on the top of the hat to the side of the stick on the side of the hats, the shaft of the stick on the side, to get that interplay. Manu Katché does it, or, a lot of good drummers, and I've talked about this before, having, good play of the hi-hat. They understand what to do, and they can actually play the hi-hat. Well, I don't want to say properly, but they actually work the hi-hat, not just get one sound. And I used it a lot, especially with the band The Deep Six, who I was playing with about this time. I used it on a song called Barefoot Doctor, but I don't think you can find that anywhere. Certainly not on vinyl, and certainly no MP3s, no downloads for it. There might be something on YouTube, because Sky TV came along and filmed part of our set when we played with CCW, which I talked about a few videos ago with Hugh Cornwell, Roger Cook and Andy West, CCW. And they recorded 2 or 3 of Hugh's CCW songs at Ronnie Scott's in London, and we were supporting them as well as being the backing band for CCW. So there's a copy of it. I've got a copy of it here, but anyway. But it was just an interesting groove, and the song itself, when I hear it, I can't seem to find the single version. Whenever I found it and streamed it online, it's always slightly edited, and it's this one that I really, really like. It's like when you find Paul Hardcastle's 19, that classic track. The single version's great, but there's loads of different versions when you go to This Is 1989 or whatever that is, and you find it and it's slightly different. You think, no, I want the actual version. But yeah, I can't remember much about the band, whether they went on to do anything else. I think there was an album around this time which probably had the same kind of cover. But yeah, it's just that groove. It's that female vocal thing going on. It's that back to life reality soul to soul vibe, and it was just really cool. And I just liked the samples at this time, and the bass sounds and everything. It was just a cool time for sort of popular music. I just think it was great. So that will go on the turntable in a minute, but I'm going to have to give it a real clean because it's absolutely filthy. But anyway, so there's how many? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 singles there, and I'll do a few more. God knows what I'll find, because that'll be very eclectic. Might even have some things that I'll probably be a bit shy about. But like I say, there are no guilty pleasures. You know, it's all good. It's all good. All of this stuff has helped shape me in some, shape and form. It's important. Okay, so thanks for tuning in. You should go and dig out some of your singles and do that. Oh, why did I buy that? Or did I? Because there's always something you'll find. And I actually, though I didn't bring it over, I also found his Vic there by Department S, which I wish I brought over really now. And you chose, it could have done 6, but oh well, that's a great one too. So thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. As I say, I hope it makes you want to go and find some of your old singles and play them. As ever, keep drumming, keep loving music, keep safe, and thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff. And I'll catch you next time on the next video. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.